All right, looks like we are rolling live with our friends on Facebook, also our friends on Twitter, or maybe it's X, and then, of course, on our YouTube channel. You guys jump in, the early arrivals. You know what to do. You let us know the video is good, the audio is good. Give us thumbs up, hearts, all those sort of things. So we'll let the early arrivals settle in here on a Tuesday. We will engage in finding out Tuesday's best. Two-word Tuesday? No more. It has evolved into Tuesday's best, where you will give us an example of two great things. So all that going on tonight. We're going to look at Texas Tech football, Big 12 football, and whatever else may be on your mind. Oh yeah, food trucks. We're always talking about food here in Raiderland. On Tuesdays we make it official, so you can give us your favorite Lubbock food trucks if you choose to do that. If you're getting in on the text line, 806-772-0197 for our Twitter and YouTube channel. Friends, get on that Raiderland text line. Hang out with us tonight. Send your text our way so we know what's on your mind here in the Arctic Air Studios, as we're brought to you by McAlpin Chiropractic and the Reserve Culinary Tavern, 103rd and Slide. Right there. CJ's watching. Randy is watching. Let a few more folks get in here for a Tuesday. We're going to talk about Texas Tech assistant coaches, your two favorite, or who you consider the two greatest Texas Tech assistant coaches. A little memory lane today, maybe, for some Texas Tech football fans. Tomorrow will be our Big 12 predictions. We'll do predictions tomorrow. Mine. You can do yours too. But tomorrow I'll be doing mine. All right, let's make it happen, shall we? In 3, in 2. Good evening, West Texans. All you good, fine, friendly folks out there who wish you were. I'm Ryan Hyatt, TheRaiderland.com. The website. Start your day there. We got your question of the day waiting for you every morning. You can sound off there on the website. Also, check out our Raiderland hot links. Pretty cool stuff every day. Things we like, things that have caught our attention, from videos to tweets to stories, columns, you name it. We'll include it there. If you see something you like during the day, you can post it in the comments section. We'll roll it out for everybody else tomorrow. So that's TheRaiderland.com. Start your day. We archive everything we do there. So, hey, if you like this and you missed yesterday, go to TheRaiderland.com. We'll have it waiting for you. All right, we are in the Arctic Air Studios. Hopefully your air is Arctic. If not, you call the bear. We're just a few months away from me saying, hey, you call the bear if you're freezing to death. You want to be as snug as a bear. They don't say that, but, bears seem to be fairly snug animals. They really do. CallTheBear.com. Also brought to you today by McAlpin Chiropractic. Kevin McAlpin, a great Red Raider. He's here to help you feel better. If you are in need of a chiropractor, he is the one to call. Texas Tech has utilized him with their high-level track and field athletes for a lot of years now. And we mentioned it, the Reserve. They're on 103rd and Quaker, just down the street from the old Nick's. In fact, look, that's Nick over there at the Reserve, and that's Willie. Chef Willie's cooking there, and they've got cool menu items. And even though it's not a sports bar by any stretch of the imagination, you can always watch the games there. They have televisions. Good eats, good brunch Saturday and Sunday at the Reserve. All right, let's make it happen today. What's on your mind? You tell us. Get on the text line, 806-772-0197. If you're on Twitter Live, if you're on YouTube, that's how we get to see your comments today. For our friends on Facebook Live, like Becky, like Lynn, James is there, Ryan is there. You guys fire away in the Say Something box. I said on the website, wrote on the website, there's really nothing new. We just kind of changed things, morph things, and just changed in the media. So two-word Tuesday, which was a morphation? I don't know. Anyways, it was an outgrowth of some other stuff we had done over the years, going all the way back to the Williams and Hyatt show. We're going to now do what's called Tuesday's Best, and we'll give you a category, we'll give you a question, and you give us an example of two of those that you think are the best examples. Today, apropos really of nothing, I guess, two best assistant coaches all-time, Texas Tech. That's right. The talking box is on. Craig properly notes that the talking box is on. Give us the two best assistant coaches all-time, Texas Tech. I was specifically thinking football, but if you want to do others, we can. Assistant coaches now get a lot more pub, particularly coordinators, get a lot more airtime and media time than 20-something years ago, going farther back, 30 years ago, all that sort of stuff that you hardly ever saw. Now, Every Monday, you'll hear from not just head coach Joey McGuire, but the coordinators will be there. There you go. Craig, I know I'm late, but it's my thing to say. Hey, somebody's got to say the talking box is on. CJ says Ruffin was a good players coach. Ruffin was a good football coach. Ruffin was a good dude. Ruffin McNeil, obviously part of the Mike Leach staff. And the head coach at East Carolina, his alma mater. Just a good dude. Yeah, he makes the list for some interesting all-time assistant coaches. Good, best, whatever. That's Tuesday's best. Tech football in general, again, it's been a nice, quiet camp. That's what you want. Not a lot of news coming out. That's what you want. If your team is making a lot of news in August, it's typically not good. It typically, like look at Alabama this year. Alabama, why are they making news? Because they can't decide on a quarterback right now. Or they can't. We mentioned in our column this morning, Bill Parcells. I took him right off the board. Probably one of the most well-known assistant coaches Texas Tech ever had during the short tenure of Steve Sloan, Bill Parcells. Bonus if you want to give us interesting tidbits on any of these assistant coaches. But yeah, Bill Parcells, he enjoyed playing tennis. You look at him, later on in life, you go, he couldn't have been much of an athlete. He was a really good athlete. Him and Dan Irons, former Monterey standout, Texas Tech All-American, that was their thing. They would play quite a bit of tennis. Dan Irons, the 6'6" offensive lineman. The assistants that Tim Tadlock has are the best. They're darn good. And they're paying good money to keep that staff together. I think that's one of the biggest credits to Tim Tadlock is that he has not suffered a tremendous amount of brain drain within his staff over the last several years. And people have made runs at him, and they hadn't been able to pry him away from Tim Tadlock. That's really good. You can get in on the text line here in Raiderland, 806-772-0197. James Dickey as a longtime assistant. James Dickey, the one-year assistant coach to Gerald Myers before getting the job. Yes, longtime assistant. Michael Byrne says Robert Brashear was a good assistant coach and a good dude and a Coronado Mustang. The only way that the media worships Alabama, whoever they pick will automatically be a finalist for Heisman. Check. If you're a quarterback and you're on a team that's in the top 5, you are automatically going to be a chance to win the Heisman Trophy. We even saw it last year in TCU. The award goes to the quarterback on the best team, typically now, in college football, and that's how it plays out. So if Alabama is going to be one of the best teams in college football, whoever plays quarterback is going to have a chance to be there automatically, by definition, 100%. Tuesday's best, your favorite or best assistant coaches, Texas Tech history. I was thinking particularly football, but we can branch out. You can do whatever you want to. 806-772-0197 text in. You see it on your screen on Twitter and on YouTube. That's how we get to see it. You get to see your comments. Also, we always talk about food in Raiderland. We make it official on Tuesday's Best Thing Ever Ate Hat Tip Cooking Channel. Great show. Smooth. Food trucks. Your favorite Lubbock food trucks. I'm not anti-food truck. I'll drive by them all the time, and it never crosses my mind that, wow, I could probably go over there and get some food. Or if it's a really good one, I see the line, and I hate waiting in line. So I don't. Now, I know a lot of people are food truck crazy. I know a lot of people think there are a lot of great food trucks in Lubbock in particular. So if you have a favorite food truck today, that's what we're talking about, food trucks. The kids are back in town, obviously, for Texas Tech classes. That means the food trucks will be back out and about and taking advantage of that. Sonny Cumbie, a great assistant coach. David McWilliams, who was never an assistant at Texas Tech. Becky says, hold on, now I got to scroll back up. Tennessee Titans cut Trey Wolf this morning. I'm not bitter. I'm hoping they lose every game this year. Take that. Chris, it's going to be very difficult for a non-quarterback to win the Heisman. Yeah, always has been for the most part. I say that. There have been different stretches where became a running back award for a little bit, but right now, the way stats and everything roll out, hard to say. Spike Dykes, an assistant under David McWilliams. Jerry Moore first, then David McWilliams, and then head coach. Yes, the Bill Parcells reference talked about earlier. Tennis playing Bill. Rejino Barbecue, our friends from Olton, Texas, go Mustangs. I don't know how good their football team's supposed to be this year, but always a soft spot in our heart rooting for them. There are a lot of really good assistant coaches throughout the years. Ruffin always under the radar. I never felt like he was under the radar. I felt like he was on the radar. I felt like everybody knew he was a good assistant coach, and that helped parlay him into getting a head coaching job. I never got the feeling, maybe just because I was here, that he was under the radar. Under the radar. Carlos Maynard was a great assistant coach at Texas Tech, coming in first at the end of the J.T. King era, then coming back in the mid-'80s, and then coming back again from 87 to 92 after 2 years, 1 year with the Chicago Bears and spending time in the National Football League. Carlos Maynard, good dude, great assistant coach. Where would you rank Grant Taff as an assistant coach there for J.T. King in the late 60s? He ended up having a nice little run down there at Baylor. Tom Wilson, the man who would have been and would have taken the Texas Tech coaching job, the former quarterback, assistant coach, 67 to 74. And then he came back 84, 85 with Jerry Moore on that staff the last 2 years. A&M head coach. Hi there, Stacy. I think here's one that a lot of people might not know. The legendary Joe Kerbel for our Panhandle, West Texas High Plains folks. 58, 59 under DeWitt Weaver. We'll get to DeWitt Weaver here in just a second. The Tennessee influence under DeWitt Weaver was strong. We've talked about it before. They almost built Jones Stadium like Neyland Stadium when they were doing the retrofit. It would have been really weird if it had never turned into a bowl, never dug out. If you want to jump in on the food truck topic, you can. Give us great food trucks, Lubbock or otherwise, or I guess, wherever you may be. Maybe there's a great food truck. And you can get in on the text line, 806-772-0197. Always share this broadcast if you want to with your friends, with your family, your coworkers, people you don't even know. Stop them on the street. Let them know. Ryan Hyatt's Raiderland, most nights, 6:30-ish, give or take, out there doing stuff. And then this is one of the most underrated days of the week, so you can always give us on Tuesdays what's underrated this week. As we make our way through, we stair-step through the topics, we ease our way in, we do different things. What's underrated this week? Things that are we discovered Tuesday, very underrated day of the week, a couple of weeks ago, so that's why we do what's underrated on Tuesdays, sports or otherwise. I mentioned Carlos Maynard. Then there's, the Tech luminaries that were assistant coaches, like Polk Robinson, assistant coach, Burl Huffman, assistant coach. Names like that. Good fish and chips, underrated meal. Yeah, got to have that malt vinegar, though. If you're somewhere and they're serving fish and chips and they don't have that vinegar, they don't have that, what are they doing? What are you thinking? You used to have really good fish and chips. Underrated menu. The old Fox and Hound in Lubbock back in the day, before it just kind of began its slow, not so slow slide throughout the years before finally going away. Man, they really did have some good food there. They had an underrated menu, and they had really good fish and chips for things that are underrated. No one's mentioned Romeo Crennel, Houston Texans coach, NFL head coach. Again, in the mid-'70s, what were his official years? 75 and 76. That Steve Sloan staff was pretty darn good on into the Rex Docker years. They had some names on that. I mentioned Joe Kerbel. Here, I'll throw out two from the 90s. One guy that I'm not going to say I got to know well, but we always seem to get along well. I think it's because my dad was a Texas high school coach. For those of you, obviously, who remember Friday Night Lights, Odessa Perman head coach. Gary Gaines was an assistant coach at Texas Tech for about 4 years. Cool guy to visit with. Who's a special teams coach for a few years? I know off the subject, Manny Matsakis. Not sure why I thought of him. Manny Matsakis. Wow. The legendary Manny Matsakis. How long did he last? All of 1 year. 2000 with Mike Leach, maybe. No, he lasted longer than that. He lasted like 3 or 4. Maybe into 02 or 03. Manny Matsakis, man. Less rock, more block. Come on, Manny. What are we doing? Manny Matsakis. He ended up down, did he make a head coach at Southwest Texas State or something weird like that? Hey, Derek, glad you're watching. Danny says underrated today. Whataburger chocolate shakes. I'm a malt guy if I'm going to get a shake, if I've got the option. Wife says Don Pablo's tortellini soup was underrated, and it's missed. And everybody likes a good tortilla soup. Chris says 3 or so, I think, talking about Matsakis. Yeah, at least through 02, maybe the 03 season. Can't remember. Jim Bates was a good assistant coach. Yeah. Let's see. Bates was, what year were you here at Tech? 78 to 83. Jim Bates, the legendary Jim Bates. There were some guys, again, there were some coaches, on the bad Jerry Moore teams. There were still some interesting, good coaches. No one's going to say Dick Winder. I've got to say Dick Winder. I've got to bring up Dick Winder and Ted Unbehagen, the Marine Ted Unbehagen, or as my friend Mark Condren used to call him, Coach Mahagama. I don't think he appreciated that. I like saying David Knaus just because I like saying David Knaus. Rodney Allison was an assistant coach at Texas Tech. Kind of helped get Texas Tech on probation there. We won't go into details, but it happens. Definitely Winder and Unbehagen. Winder, head coach was Tarleton. Couldn't believe he went to Oklahoma. Seeing him in purple at TCU. He was a really creative dude. I thought he was as creative as anybody. Yeah, needs some boots. Call Rodney. I thought his offense was really creative there in the late 80s, talking about Dick Winder, out of a more or less I formation that if you go back and look, Tech really didn't line up a whole lot in a pure I during that time, even though they utilized a fullback effectively well. Some very good fullbacks. Irvin Ferris, Clifton Winston, McDowell, Anthony McDowell. God, can't remember. Stacy, wasn't everyone in the Southwest Conference on probation the entirety of its existence? Only during the decade of the 80s, except for Rice, who was the defense coordinator. Leach fired when they got off the plane after Oklahoma State in 2007. That would be when Lyle Setensich, his old buddy, had been at Cal and otherwise. Yeah, Lyle Setensich. Lyle, and I like him. He was a good guy. He could complicate a ham sandwich. He had a pre-snap checklist that at any given time was 11 to 13 checks long. I had it. I had a copy of it. Alignment assignment, key technique, blah, 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 blah. I used to have it memorized in the mid-2000s. Yeah, Lyle Setensich. Passed away a few years ago. Hey, Bob. Glad you're watching. Glad you guys are watching on Twitter Live and on YouTube. Utilize the Raiderland text line there, 806-772-0197. That's how we get your comments on. If you comment otherwise, I don't see it. It's a multi-streaming platform. Got a lot of different things going on for a few more minutes tonight. You can share this, invite people in. Tuesday's best. We're talking greatest Texas Tech assistant coaches. Theoretically, it was going to be about football, but can be any and all assistant coaches. Bob Evans, Texas Tech basketball. Weston's watching. Rock on, Weston. Hope you're doing well. I know it's hard to do dealing with that father of yours. Thank God for your uncle to keep you right. So, yeah, Tuesday's best. No more two-word Tuesday. It is now Tuesday's best. You'll give us theoretically in the mornings on Tuesday on the website, theraiderland.com. An example, two of something. Call it the Noah's Ark deal. And then every Tuesday, what's underrated? The legendary Lyndon Weiss, the man who could make a shot from the Tech bench, sitting in the chair on the bench and make a basket. Very good at that. Rocky Felker. Anybody going to mention Rocky Felker? No? All right, now I gotta give one that you guys are not going to hand out. And this is the forgotten high-profile dude. Beatty Feathers coached at Texas Tech, both assistant coach in football, and he was the head baseball coach, 54-60. He had been a star at Tennessee. He'd been a star at the University of Tennessee. Again, DeWitt Weaver, Tennessee. He plays in the NFL with the legendary Bears, the Brooklyn Dodgers. Now, why do we remember the Brooklyn Dodgers? Pete Cawthon coaches the Brooklyn Dodgers in the 40s after leaving Texas Tech, right after Feathers gets done playing there. By the way, this dude still holds, I think, the NFL record average yards per carry, 8.8 yards per carry. So he gets into coaching after being on the National Football League All-Decade team. And he's, by the way, one of 10 players named to the 1930s All-Decade team that's not in the NFL Hall of Fame. See, the bias started against Tech people well before Zach Thomas and E.J. Holland. So he becomes the head coach at Appalachian State, NC State. He also coaches baseball. He leaves NC State as the head coach. What was his record? I had to look it up here. He was 37-38-3, 24-28-3 in the old Southern Conference for the NC State Wolfpack, and ends up at Texas Tech there with DeWitt Weaver, going all the way back to the Tennessee connection. He was the head coach at Wake Forest, by the way, in baseball, 72-75 after being the head Tech baseball coach, 54-60. Tech would play baseball for a few more years. But this is like one of the great athletes of the 30s and 40s in Feathers, who ends up on the Texas Tech campus for about half a decade, that most people, no idea, no clue who he was. He's got to rank up their all-time assistant coaches. Weston says, when are they going to have the Tech football stadium done? Next year. Always a 2-year project. They'll still work around it, obviously, this year and play. Yeah, Tim Tadlock was a good assistant coach. Long time Tech assistant coach, Tim Tadlock. He took the James Dickey approach. Come in, hang around a year, vulture the head coaching job from the coach who gets fired. Smart move if you can do it. I'm just kidding, James, if you're watching or somebody's watching this and say, hey, James, you should have heard what Hyatt said the other day. He's still going after you just like he did in 97 and just like he did in 90. James would get pissed off during the old Williams and Hyatt show back in the 90s. Something be going on, whatever. And you could just tell the producer would be on the phone in the other room. Okay, boom. Put it on hold. And on the comm system, type in, Dickey, line 1 wants to talk during break. All right, go in there. Hey, Coach, how you doing? Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. Yep. Mm-hmm. All right. Thanks, Coach. And he just had to vent. He would whatever it was, and 9 times out of 10, we would wrap up the conversation. Coach, do I need to come by your office? And it'd be, no, you just got to know everything. You can't say, you'd be frustrated because I want to tell you some things. I can't tell you some things. I said, what do you want me to do? Not my problem. But we became convivial over the years and hated to see the exit the way it was constructed. James, a good radio caller for high school sports is underrated. Indeed it is. Having been a very average one myself many years ago, I always thought the best thing to do, work with former Texas Tech All-American football players. Richard Campbell and I, probably the best I was ever doing high school football. I had my man Keith up there at Shallwater, and we worked really well together. We just got along really well. And for 3 years, that was a good booth. And then Richard Campbell and I worked really well. And then I also did a couple of seasons with Thomas Howard, a Red Raider All-American linebacker, Dunbar Panthers star, one of the best hurdlers in the state of Texas. And again, Thomas and I got along really well, so it made it easy to tee those guys up and let them do their thing. And I just, hey, down distance and what happened. Did we talk about John Goodner? All-time great assistants, Texas Tech. So he's down there with Grant Teaff at Baylor, great defensive mind. Teaff ends up, calling it a career, it's obvious that it's going to be over pretty soon. So Goodner leaves, and he ends up on the Tech campus. I say he ends up on the Tech. Like, how the hell did I get here? What day is it? Where is my beautiful automobile? This is not my underwear. And so Spike gets him in. He doesn't have room for him, and he gets him in as a graduate assistant. And he is the guy that Zach Thomas thanked on the podium during the acceptance speech, and immediately started cranking out great defenses. Pretty much the remainder. What was he? Yeah, he was there the rest of Spike's career. So the final 6 years or so of Spike's career, Goodner running the defense. They did eventually promote him to defensive coordinator. I think it was only 1 year that he was listed as a GA. But that was the respect that he had for Spike, that he was willing to come to Lubbock for a year, and basically, I think he got $12,500. But he was running the defense and just put together some fantastic defensive schemes. Really good again at the time against the hyper run game as you go from the Southwest Conference into the Big 12. Nebraska's still running the midline option. They were about the last of it. Everybody else was going to that, was still in an I and an I hybrid type look. This is pre-zone read days of the early 2000s. And Goodner could absolutely stuff your run game. He would put his DBs on an island, sometimes good, sometimes not so good, but he could force you to be incredibly one-dimensional if you wanted to beat him. Another name that's not out there that I wanted to make sure we got out there. Let's see. Polk Robinson, yeah. Dale Morgan, legendary. Carlos, we talked about that. How about Taylor McNeil? A little thumbs up from Taylor McNeil. Oh, yeah. Anybody remember the guy? He came in as a high school coach, had a good run in high school, had some connections up here. Art Briles. Anyone familiar with Art Briles? Yeah, apparently he was an assistant coach at Texas Tech in the early 2000s. I'm not sure if anybody knew that, but apparently Art Briles was an assistant coach. You got a few more minutes to get in on the Raiderland text line, 806-772-0197. You can get it on the Facebook Say Something box. What's underrated today? Today's best, Tuesday's best. We're talking best assistant coaches all time, Texas Tech. And then tomorrow is the big day. I will make my season predictions for Texas Tech. I'll say this right now. If you're seeing anything regarding Texas Tech in a win total that is 6.5, I'll be over that for sure. 7.5, tune in tomorrow. Briles was an assistant for. Are you sure about that, Art Briles? Are we sure that Briles? I mean, I did some. It's hard to find out whatever happened to Art Briles. There aren't a lot of stories about him out there on the internet. I don't know. Double check on that. So you say he had a son named Kendall. Kendall. I think I've heard that name somewhere before. I should really look into that and see if we can find out. I think Kendall got into coaching as well. I think Kendall did. I think I read that somewhere. Kendall Briles also got a veritable coaching tree there with the Briles family, you might say. All right, we've got to say goodbye first off to our people, our wonderful people who are on Twitter Live or X Live. How long do I get away with? How long do we call it Twitter? I don't know. And YouTube, you guys got in first. You got to go away first. So it says in broadcast ? Yes, in broadcast. That's why I put